Hello and welcome to the Behind the Stumps podcast again this week here on Sport FM. Great to have your company wherever you may be with us, whether you're on YouTube watching, whether you're listening on Sport FM, or of course you can catch the podcast wherever you download your podcasts from. My name is Jack Crawshaw and I've got former South African Test cricketer HD Ackerman alongside me. And it's amazing what happens with technology. On today's episode, I'm sitting in Perth. Michael Clarke, the former Australian Test captain, will join us. He'll be in Sydney. And HD Ackerman, well, he's in Nepal. Hello, HD.
Hello, Jack. Yeah, it's the early hours of the morning here in Nepal. Their T20 league has started. It started yesterday. Brand new stadium, floodlights. So everyone's very excited here in Nepal. And we had our first game yesterday and double header today.
So you're away for a month, is that right? The tournament runs for a month, and who do we know who's playing in the Nepal T20 comp?
Jimmy Neesham from New Zealand is here. Western Australia's own Will Basisto is here. He'll be in action later today, so we'll see how Will gets on. Faf du Plessis on his way. He's just competing in the Abu Dhabi T10 first. These cricketers now work 363 days of the year, and then they have 2 days off to celebrate Christmas and New Year.
It's fantastic, and you're there, as I said, for the best part of a month. So we're going to be talking to you quite regularly over there. So hopefully you might be able to snag us. I'd love to talk to Faf. If you could just snag us, Faf, that would be magnificent. HD. Would be great.
We'll have a word with him. We'll have a word with him when he arrives. I'm just hoping the Wi-Fi stays okay.
Yes, well, that's right. Well, we're all hoping that. We're all hoping that that's the case. Yeah. Now we're here thanks to Bailey's fertiliser, Bailey's Grobsorb, ensuring WA Sports Turf absorbs every drop this summer, and Cedar College WA. Happy, healthy, high-performing students. That's Cedar College WA. Now, we're building up to the Ashes, which starts on Friday here in Perth. Obviously, big news with no Josh Hazlewood in the lineup for Australia, which means no Cummins, no Hazlewood. Gee, this is a big opportunity for England HD to kick the series off in a venue where they probably weren't expected to win here in Perth if Cummins and Hazlewood were obviously fit and playing in this side.
Not expected to win, but I still think that this is one that this England team has earmarked as a potential win even before the injury to Hazlewood, because of the fact that Wood and Archer will be in their side. Now, I would think that they're going to play them in the first test, and then we might only see them one at a time. But the surface at the Perth Stadium will certainly suit those two bowlers. We haven't heard much on Mark Wood. We know that he walked off a week ago or something against the England Lions team at Lilac Hill, but we haven't heard much since. So whether they're keeping their cards close to their chest, I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure we'll know in a day or two. If he is not fit, then I think Australia become ranked favourites again.
It could be like Josh Hazlewood, where he goes for scans, he felt really good, and then 3 days later he's not playing. So
what is that all about?
It was that, oh yes, it's all good. No muscular strain, he's all good to go. He'll play, he'll travel to Perth, all good, and then 3 days later, oh no, he's not going to play. We've ruled him out. So yeah, it's
a long series.
It's a long series,
and I think that's something that we as the public need to understand, is that we focus on the first test. I think the team will be focusing on the entire series.
Yep. And that's exactly right. So we'll see how that plays out. Pat Cummins has been bowling in the nets here in Perth. We've seen some vision of that. So he's slowly building back. Is it Brisbane? Is it Adelaide? Well, time will tell. I think it's going to be, looks like it could be sooner rather than later, considering he's doing some bowling in the nets. But time will tell there with Pat Cummins. Now, let's get on. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Ashes with Michael Clarke coming up shortly, so we'll come back to that. But what a thrilling finish to the Shield game the other night, HD. WA and Queensland. Corey Rocacholi, your call on the vision. Corey Rocacholi's day, Corey Rocacholi's night. Gee, you'd been thinking about that all day, what you could come up with, HD. But it was absolute thrilling finish and a great advertisement for the 4-day game.
Yeah, and I think that Sam Whiteman and the management need to take some kudos for that as well, because, we sit in the commentary box and we want an exciting game of cricket, and we know that they've got to think about an entire Shield season. But to declare that far behind was brave. I mean, what did they surrender? They surrendered a lead of something, 62,
60.
I think it was. Yeah. And basically said to Queensland, right, the ball's in your court. We all thought, well, okay, when are Queensland going to declare? And what are they going to set Western Australia? Because they will, because of the Whiteman declaration now. What we didn't see coming was Corey Rocacholi's spell late on day 3, which essentially said to Queensland, well, the ball's not in your court anymore. It's just, we're going to bowl you out and then see what we can do. But we didn't predict that thrilling finish. It was absolutely amazing. And, obviously we're happy for the Western Australians who were there at the ground, because it is, their home game. And what it has done is it's thrown the Shield wide open.
Yep. It's a great result for Western Australia, who now go on the road. They play South Australia in Adelaide, pink ball game starting on Saturday. And then Melbourne, Victoria at the MCG the following week before the Big Bash break. Now, one player that they will be really keen to see come back, hopefully, is Jai Richardson. Now, he's been playing for Fremantle, obviously, in the Premier competition. He's going to line up for CA11 against the England Lions in a game at Lilac Hill, but such an important piece of the cog for WA, and potentially off the back of maybe some retirements in the next 12 to 18 months of some of our quicks in the current lineup, potentially HD. The Jai Richardson is a really important piece of the puzzle.
Well, we haven't been seeing what's been happening over the last 6 months with regard to communication with Jai Richardson and what the plans are. But all of a sudden, we're starting to see a picture, aren't we, Jack, that Cricket Australia really value this guy, because they've obviously been managing him and view him as a potential replacement to what we call the big 3 down the line. And you and I, we know why, because we've watched him bowl at the Wacker for a number of years, and he is a world-class performer and deserves the international stage. He bowls at great pace, and the skill that he possesses to swing the ball both ways at that pace would be a handful at international cricket. So you can understand why Cricket Australia are doing what they're doing, but we can only hope, as fans of cricket and as fans of Jai Richardson and Western Australia, that he stays fit, because gee whiz, I'd love to see him on the international stage. But they're managing him, aren't they? They're clearly managing him.
Well, one day we could see Richardson and Morris in the same attack for Australia, and that wowould be genuinely exciting from Western Australia, where they've come from, but for Australian cricket to have Richardson and Morris in the same lineup, in 3-4 years' time would be so exciting.
Well, I think the two people that would be very happy would be Matt Kelly and Cameron Gannon, because they know that they'll continue to play Shield cricket. And I don't mean any disrespect to them, because they've done an amazing job. But we know what that bowling, that battery of fast bowlers looks like at Western Australia. And the fact that they're still able to put a wonderful attack on the ground with the injuries to those two players is amazing.
Right, we're going to clear an early break, because we've got a big chat coming up with former Australian Test cricketer Michael Clarke here on Behind the Stumps. Wide-ranging chat about his career and also about the upcoming Ashes as well. So stay tuned, because that's coming up next. You're listening to Behind the Stumps, thanks to our friends at Bailey's Fertiliser, Bailey's Grobsorb, ensuring WA Sports Turf absorbs every drop this summer, and also Cedar College WA. Happy, healthy, high-performing students. That's Cedar College WA. We're back with more on Behind the Stumps here on Sport FM, or if you're watching on YouTube, right after this. Hello and welcome back to Behind the Stumps here on Sport FM. Great to have your company wherever you may be listening to us, whether you're listening to the audio on Sport FM, or of course you could be watching the vision on YouTube. It's great to have your company. Now, we've had some big names in the last few weeks, HD, but we've gone right to the top this time. It's not often you get the opportunity to speak to a former Australian Test captain. Last week, we spoke to Cap 403, Peter Siddle. This week, we're speaking with Cap 389, Michael Clarke, who's been good enough to join us. And it's great to speak to him the week leading into the first test of the Ashes. Michael, so thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Boys, you just showed me my age. 389 compared to Sid's. Don't remind me. I'm sure it was only yesterday I was out there playing, but no, thanks for having me. Yeah, great to be on the show.
115
Jack,
test matches.
Jack,
incredible record.
Jack,
yeah.
Jack, I just need to add something on that quickly, because I just think it's number one, it's a privilege. Number two, it's brave, because every single person that's played that we've asked to be on the pod that's been part of an Ashes before has basically refused because they're so worried that the media are going to catch on to what they've said and they're going to jump on it. This Ashes is something else.
Yeah, is it ever? And, mate, I'm used to the media jumping on, buddy, so I'm so fine. Go for your life, media. Take my quotes.
Well, Michael, you're part of it these days, really, aren't you? I mean, let's firstly, I love your series with Aaron Holland, which Beyond 23 Cricket Pod, which you ventured into recently. Just tell us how that came about, and it seems to be going really well for you because you're on the road with some shows coming up.
Yeah, very kind. Thank you, mate. I started about a year and a half ago. I was doing breakfast radio. I was sick of waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So with the help of a couple of amazing brands, I ventured out and started this podcast. So a number of different things. We do in-studio stuff where Aaron is my co-host. I do a bit of a travel series where I go around and just interview a few different people. I was lucky enough to go to Sardinia recently and interview Lullet Modi, who created the IPL. I went to London and spoke to Piers Morgan, who is a cricket tragic and very biased English fan. So I've been all around the world doing that as well. And now we go live. Yeah, Thursday night is our first live show. We're doing that in Sydney. I wish we were coming to Perth, but unfortunately this year we couldn't get there. We do 4 live shows and pretty much follow the test matches around. So a lot of fun. I guess a little bit like what you guys hear, the freedom to talk openly about the sport you love, watch the series closely and watch cricket that happens all around the world. And, like I say, it keeps me very close to the game that has given me so much.
Yeah. Now, I just quickly, I want to throw in Aaron Holland just for a second. Aaron appeared on Sport FM during one of our Sheffield Shield broadcasts back when she was recently Miss Universe.
Yeah,
and Lee Castledine and I were commentating at the Allan Border Field, and Ben Cutting was playing for Queensland at this time. Yeah. And Lee Castledine says to me, I'm just going to bring in a Miss Universe just to commentate with us for an hour. And I went, hang on a second, this doesn't happen every day. But anyway, it was fantastic. She loves the sport, and she gave great insight. But
she's a star. Aaron's a star. So's her husband Ben. They're actually, we've got Ben coming on the live show as well, which will be interesting to see those two go head to head on stage. So I can't wait to wind them up. I think the podcast is about just winding people up. We've got Monty Penisar, so it'll be a sledge fest. Actually, I've got some great past players coming on as well. I think I got Damien Martin coming on in Brisbane. Marto talks to no one, so to twist his arm and find a way to get my good mate on, that's a miracle. Brad Haddon in Adelaide, and then Justin Langer in Sydney. So some legends of the game that that I think their opinion on this Ashes series is going to be unreal.
Well, let's get into some cricket-based stuff. We just want to talk briefly about your career first, Michael, and then we might get into the current day stuff. But I read just in the last couple of days, so at 17. Could it have not necessarily happened for you? Like, because you had the 3 degenerative discs in your back. Could we have never, ever seen the Michael Clarke story? Was it that bad that you might have kept you out of professional sport?
Oh, there was probably a number of reasons why we could have not seen me play Test cricket. Probably my behaviour as a kid, if you ask my mum and dad, was probably the number one reason. They didn't think I'd make it to 17. Look, my back was bad. I found out I had degeneration from a young age, so I guess I just had to manage it through my career. The more I played, the older I got, wear and tear. It got worse, certainly at stages. But no, to be honest, I think my back was one of the things that made me extremely disciplined as a player. I had to do things in preparation to get on the park. And I think that made me, my routine, my structure, my discipline, something that probably held me in good stead for my career.
Yeah.
Michael, I just want to ask you about when you first came into the Australian side. Now, there's been a lot made of the Australian cricket team at the moment, that there's just maybe Cameron Green who's going to be the one player that's under 30, and everyone said, well, we're aging, and this England will take advantage of this. Now, you played in the 2006-7 Ashes, where you were the only player that was under 30, and that result went 5-0. What was it like coming into that squad of players?
Yeah, HDL, I think I believe in a good team has both, that youth and experience. Now, coming into that team, it was very hard to, let's say 6, 8 of the all-time greats that Australian cricket's ever had were a part of that team. So I think there was a process of when these guys were going to retire. I don't know if it was spoken to the players in advance because we lost, after that fifth test in Sydney, we lost McGrath, Warne and Langer all at once. That I think took us a long time to recover from that. So, and again, the Ashes is such a big series. You see a lot of players walk away at the end of an Ashes series, but I think that team was a little bit different to this current Australian team. But in saying that, I think we are at a stage now where we need to think about transition. You don't want to lose 2, 3, 4 guys at once. So hopefully at the end of this Ashes series, the result's the same as it was in 2006 when we won 5-0. Yeah. But I hope you don't see 3 or 4 players decide after Sydney that I've had enough for Test cricket. I hope there's been some communication between Cricket Australia and players to try and work out, can we lose 1, maximum 2 after this series, and then let's see what happens in 12 months' time, or can we get players to a World Cup? I think it's a really tough balance, that's for sure.
Is that tough as a leader? I mean, when you captained Australia, you sort of had it both, didn't you? You were part of a transition, and then obviously part of an extremely strong side.
Well, I think it depends on the players you have around you as well. Like I think about when I took over the captaincy from Ricky Ponting, conversations were had about my thoughts on a past captain still being involved in that team, and I was a big supporter of it. I thought we were quite a young team, inexperienced. We needed Ricky's leadership. Even though he wasn't the captain, I wanted him around training. I wanted him out on the field. I think it was really good for us as a team to sort of fight to keep Ricky for an extra 12 months or year and a half. Now, you speak to Ricky about that and he'll probably say, and he has said to me, he thinks he should have retired a year earlier or 2 years earlier. But again, Punter probably doesn't understand, because he's such a good guy, he probably doesn't understand the impact he had on all of us, the rest of the players, by him staying. So it mightn't have helped his performances, or he mightn't have played as well as he had in the past. But he did so much for our team, with that extra, that staying on for that extra time. So I think it depends on what team you have. And like I say, I think there's a significant difference between losing 3 or 4 players versus losing 1 or 2.
Jack, we spoke to Sids, didn't we, last week about that Punter's final test match, final series at 2012 versus South Africa, when, with all the greatest respect, Michael, he was bowled into the ground, wasn't he? And Adelaide, I mean, what about that test match?
I know, yeah. It's, I think it happens. It's the game. Like, I think that's the reality around this, sport, not just cricket, that I don't think age necessarily has that much impact. I think time does. So you might still feel as fit and as healthy as, like I feel now at 44. I wish I played cricket at this weight. I think I'm probably 10 kilos heavier than what I was when I played, but I feel fitter and stronger, but it's a different fitness and strength. But I know my eyes are not as good. My movements are a bit slower. So I think that's probably the thing. Performance is the indicator as to if you're good enough to play, whether you're 17 or 40. I think if you're able to still make runs or take wickets, take those catches, dive, pick up the ball, get that run out. If your body can still do that, then I don't think you need to be too concerned about age. But I think for majority of us, as it slowly ticks over, you can feel, everything hurts a bit more, everything's a little bit slower. And for some of these boys, when you're competing at the highest level, you've only got to be an inch off, and that will be defining. That will help you make that decision that my time has come to an end.
Michael Clarke has joined us, former Australian Test captain. Michael, we've touched on the captaincy there. Can you just give us an insight into the pressure and the scrutiny on the Australian Test captain, and sort of how you handle that in your time? Because it's second to the Prime Minister, isn't it, really, in this country?
Well, it's said like that, but I don't know. It doesn't compare to that. When you leave cricket, where's my job? Where's my CEO job? You go back to sweeping the floor, let me tell you. So there's no second to the Prime Minister when you retire. Look, to be honest, I think it's changed a little bit. I think I grew up in, even watching my father play, and then teams I played in, once you got to sort of under built 14s, 15s, 16s, where the captain was in charge of the cricket team, which means the captain is accountable for certainly for losses. And all through my career, the captains I played under, and then when I took over the captaincy, it was if the team lost or underperformed or had a bad day, you go in front of the media. The captain goes in front of the media. I think cricket is now transitioning a little bit like, you see in AFL or rugby league where the coach is the one who's sitting there taking the hit. The coach is accountable. And again, I think a lot's changed as well. Like when I first started, we would have, your chairman of the board, your CEO, captain and chairman of selectors were your four leaders in the Australian setup, where now you've got a head of science, you got a doctor that's in the meeting, you got a high performance manager, you got chairman of the board, CEO, captain, coach. Like there's a lot more. There's a longer list to get to the captain now than there was when I played. So I still think on the field, I've heard George Bailey cop some criticism of late about batting orders. I can't ever remember a coach setting a batting order when I played, or telling me when I had to bowl a certain bowler. Anything on the field, selectors pick the 11 that take the field with the conversation with the captain. Whether he's a selector or not, he has huge input, but they pick the 11. But on the field, I would like to think, and I hope, the captain is still 100% in charge of that. He picks the batting order. He works out who's fielding, who's bowling, what's going on the field of play. Yes, you have the advice of coaches, all the coaches. There's probably 15 of them these days in the squad when you go off at the lunch break or if somebody runs a message out. But on the field in our sport, the captain has to be accountable. You spend so much time out there. He needs to be one calling the shot. So, things have changed, but there is still that's part of leadership. If you're running a business, you're the CEO, then you're accountable. I'd like to think captaining a cricket team is different to an AFL game or a rugby league game that goes for 90 minutes or whatever it is. 5 days on a cricket field's a lot of time to not be in charge as a leader, let me tell you.
Yep.
You talk about accountability, and I know that Jack's got an innings that he wants to speak to you about, but there's just one from a captaincy point of view, just from an entertainment point of view, and I know you didn't find it funny at the time, but your 160 against South Africa, there was about 45 minutes of play where Morné Morkel ran in at you, and that is arguably one of the best, but it's one of the best bits of Test cricket that I've ever watched. That 45 minutes.
Not for me, it's not, buddy. It's still not. I have a big scar right between my forehead.
I just wanted you to talk us through that a little bit. I mean, because that was riveting stuff.
Yeah, look, and Morné is an absolute beauty of a guy too. You know what? Morné's probably too gentle. If Morné had the fire that Dale Steyn had, for example, he wouldn't be checking if I was all right when he broke my shoulder, put it that way. He'd have been stepping on me on the ground. I think it was, and again, through that Test match, my back wasn't great. So I found getting out of the way of the short ball quite difficult. And I probably understood I was going to have to make two choices, either try and take on the short ball, the hook and the cut, or if I can't sway, I might have to wear a few. And Graham Smith and I get on so well, but we always competed hard on the field. So Smitty was smart. He set quite an aggressive field for short pitch bowling. He made it very clear this is how South Africa are going to attack me. And then I had to try to find a way. And I had a lot of luck, don't get me wrong, but it was one of those days where I probably hadn't been scoring as many runs as I would like. I needed to make runs for the team. I needed to find a way. And as uncomfortable as it was, I think the end result is very rewarding because we won that game and I was able to not give my wicket away. I think a lot of people probably see it a lot tougher than I did. I didn't have a choice. The ball that hit me in the glove went up and they didn't catch it, or it fell short, or I played and missed 10 times, or, all that happens and a little bit of luck plays a part. But yeah, I think that was a day where South Africa had a very set plan. Certainly the back end of my career, I think a lot of teams went to that. We're going to use the short ball early to test him out, test his back out. And thankfully, I was able to survive on that day and make some runs and help us win.
What about the sorry, we're going to just drift back a little. I think it was before then, but you got another 150 against South Africa, but this time in a losing cause.
Mm.
21. You were 21 for 9 at one stage. What was
Yeah,
going on there?
that
That was
that was the second innings. Don't get me started. We got bowled out for 47, and Nathan Lyon was our saviour. I think Lino might have got 15. He was the highest run scorer. But well, again, Cape Town. It was one of those places that when the sun was out, it was beautiful for batting. So I made some runs in the first innings, and then when you got a little bit of overcast, it just started to seam, and we nicked everything that come our way. LBWs were just hitting the stumps. It's still so hard to describe. It was like open the door, close the door, open the door, close the door. And I remember getting out in the second innings for not many, sitting in the change room, and the boys couldn't get padded up quick enough. Blokes were about to get timed out. We walk out, walk back in, walk out, walk back in. So, yeah, again, that's another example of I think I was very lucky through my career to have some amazing days, but that one was a tough one. To be bowled out for 47 is not a good feeling in any cricket you play. Under 10s, I would have been devastated, let alone playing for your country.
Yeah, it was such a peculiar test match, and I'll tell you a
Yeah.
quick story about that test. Actually, is a few days before it, well, about a week before it, Gary Kirsten phoned me. I was actually in Potchefstroom working with the South African A side against you guys, where you were introduced to Marchant de Lange, who bowled quite quick that day as well.
Bowled very quick.
And Gary Kirsten said, we're going to pick Vernon Philander. And we just want to lengthen our batting lineup because we just can't have Morkel batting at 8 anymore.
Yeah.
So that was the reason why they picked him. Anyway, Tom Moody arrived to commentate on that test match. And he said, tell me about this guy Philander. And I said, he can't bowl. I said, he's hopeless. I said, they've just picked him to lengthen the batting lineup. Anyway,
Wow.
well, he had an unbelievable career. Sometimes we get it wrong.
Yeah.
But
Don't we ever? But I think the other thing as well, I think Philander's a good example of, I think a lot of teams get their bowling unit wrong because they pick their best 3 fast bowlers or their best spinner. They don't pick their best attack. And I think there's a big difference when selecting an 11. I think it's not necessarily the best individuals that make the best team. And a bowling attack is exactly that. You've got to be able to, as a captain, you've got to be able to use people in different roles. You've got to be able to assess conditions. Is there uphill, downhill, run up? Is there into the breeze, down breeze, at the ground? What opposition am I playing against? What sort of wicket do we have? If you play, Philander in Cape Town where it's seaming versus you play Philander in Adelaide Oval when I played, mate, Adelaide was an absolute belter. So speed through the air in Adelaide was more important than at Cape Town. So I think a lot of teams get that wrong when selecting their bowlers. They go the best individual bowlers rather than the best attack. And I think Philander, especially when he had Stain and Morkel around him plus Callis, I think he was a genius in that attack.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Very good cricketer. Now, you spoke about, Michael, about being part of some amazing innings in your time. So let's talk about the 329 against India at the SCG back in 2012. Was there a moment where you realised the stars were aligning for you in that particular fixture? Because they just kept coming and coming and coming and you just kept piling on the runs.
Yeah, I think I was 32 not out on night 1. And for me to have been not out was an absolute miracle. I batted so bad. I was so out of form. I was hitting cover drives through square leg. I was trying to play pull shots over the keeper. I remember when I walked out to bat, Ishant Sharma bowled the first ball. It was a bouncer. And I went forward to block it. And it just went past my helmet. And Ricky would come down and he said, are you okay? And I went, obviously not. I went forward to block a bouncer. I'm not watching the ball at all. So that first 30 was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And again, another example, I was out of form or I wasn't making runs in the lead up. So there was some pressure on me, even as captain, I needed some runs. I was due. After getting to that, getting through that first night and being not out, I think the next day my mind cleared. That fear of failure was released, and it was about just playing the way I wanted to play, actually remembering why I played cricket, the love of the game and why I loved batting. I was at my home ground in front of my family and friends that were there to watch. I just sort of released all the pressure off myself. And yeah, it was one of those days where I timed the ball perfectly. I didn't look to overhit the ball. I played with the intent that I loved batting with. And things just they just gelled. And I think it was as much mental as anything else to be able to, that fear of failure is not not a nice place to be when you're playing sport at the highest level.
Yeah. Why did you stop there at 329? Was the Mark Taylor innings, was it just because of the game situation, or did the Mark Taylor 334 ever play into your mind? No.
Did not. For Love Tubby, didn't think about him once. Love Sir Donald Bradman, didn't think about him once. I wanted to win. And I honestly thought at that stage, Michael Hussey had just got to 150. So I was like, perfect. He's hit that milestone. We got enough. I also did think they had Sehwag, Tendulkar, Dravid, Tendulkar. Was VVS maybe? Might have been. Like, if I can make 300, I reckon those four blokes can make 1,000. So I'm like, I need to find enough time to get these guys out. And it worked out. There was still plenty of time left in the game when we won. But, I wanted to win, and that was where I thought we had plenty on the board. Let's have a crack at try and bowl them out.
Yep. Let's get on to the current day. Let's get on to what we're about to see starting on Friday over here in Perth. I just want to ask you about Marnus firstly. I mean, Marnus couldn't hit the ball off the square, going back 12 months ago. And how much have we underestimated the large amount of work that he would have done in the last 12 months in order to get himself back into a position where arguably he, we haven't seen it in Test match cricket yet, but in what we've seen in the Shield and the domestic stuff so far, he's arguably looking the best that he ever has been.
Well, you go back 2 years, he was the best batsman in the world. Yep. So you don't, that doesn't, form comes and goes, but you can't take that away from him ever. He's earned that right. Marnus has always worked hard. He's a heavy trainer. He hits a lot of balls. I think he's found self-confidence in form, in runs, by making runs. And this is what I've always said, and I believed it through my career. I still believe it today. You can have 20 net sessions, or you can go and play one game of club cricket and make 50. One game of club cricket is worth 1,000 net sessions. One Shield game is worth 1,000 net sessions. Scoring runs in a game when you're under pressure, when if you nick it, you're out. In the nets, you're not out. When you've got that doubt, that fear of failure, to go through that process and make runs is so important to any batsman. And I think that's what's happening in Marnus. Yes, he would have went back in the nets. I know his coach is my old coach, Neil DaCosta. So I've spoken to Neil about work they've done. That's a given for Marnus. He was still working extremely hard when he couldn't make a run. But I think he lost self-confidence. He was probably worrying about his technique too much. He forgot that scoring runs was the most important thing about batting. He was probably monitoring every single movement he had, trying to work his prelim, his back lift, his swing of the bat, all these things that congest your mind. And you forget the most important thing as a batsman. When you get into the game, it's watch the ball. And I think he's slowly built that confidence back up, simplified his game, and now he has to play. Apart from Steve Smith, Marnus is your second pick player in that Australian team, in my opinion. Yeah. He's earned the right. I think he needs to bat at number 3, which is his most favoured position. His record at number 3 is probably second to Ricky Ponting in regards to statistics or average. I think it's a no-brainer. Marnus plays. Now, if they go Cameron Green at 3 and Webster at 6, then Marnus opens. If they go Weatherald open, Cameron Green at 6, then Marnus goes to his prime position at number 3, which I think should happen. I think we should have 2 openers, Marnus at 3, Smith 4, Head 5, Green the all-rounder, batting and bowling at 6. And if Green can't do that, then Webster's the all-rounder at 6.
Yeah.
What is your feeling about number 3, the number 3s that we've used? We used McSweeney to go to the top of the order. Do you think it's the same job? Can you pick a number 3 to open the batting? I know Justin Langer did it.
Yeah, I think you can. But I think there is a significant difference batting 3 to opening. I think opening batting in Australia particularly is the hardest place to bat. I think it is a specialist position. I don't agree with, I can't remember who said it. Someone of late has said batting orders are overrated. I disagree 100% in regards to Test cricket. A specialist opening batsman is no different to a spinner, a fast bowler, or a wicketkeeper. They are specialist positions. And again, I think about my career. I wanted to, one-day cricket and T20 cricket these days is very different. The batting order is not so important. But even when I look back on my career, where I batted in one-day cricket, I wish I could have opened. I wanted to open. But all my captains that I played under thought I was best suited to bat at number 4 because I could walk in against spin and that was my strength. And I couldn't disagree with them. I did like playing spin. I did feel comfortable against spin, and they had other guys that were better than me or as good as me to open the batting or bat at 3, so they needed me at number 4. I see the same. In Test cricket, Steve Smith is best suited to number 4, no doubt about it. Travis said number 5, particularly the way he plays. I thought I was best suited in Test cricket at number 5. My record at 4 was not as good as my record at 5. Yet you take that even higher, what opening batters do is underrated. It is a tough job in Australia. It gets seaming wickets, swinging ball. I think it's a specialist position, and I think we need to pick Weatherald, as he is the man who's in the squad. I think he has to open the batting with Khawaja.
The same can be said about bowling attacks that you mentioned a little bit earlier. You can pick the best 4 new ball bowlers in the country, and then no one knows how to bowl with the ball when it's a little bit older. What about England and Archer and Wood? Do you think we're going to see them in the first test together?
Got to pick them. I think they made the mistake before England. I can't remember what year it was. They brought Broad and Anderson out and didn't play them in the first test. You got to go. I think speed through the air in Australia is important. I think the other thing it does, I think it gives England to really set a tone. I think you got those 2 quicks, and you just, you don't use Archer and Wood are not the same bowler. They'll be used differently. Archer can still seam that ball a long way. Wood can bowl short spells and really utilise that pace. So if they're both fit, I think they have to play. And I think that could be a defining factor for England. I think speed through the air, be aggressive, use your short ball, give it to Australia. If I was England captain, that's how I'd be going, let me tell you.
With the news, with what we know now about the bowling, with no Cummins and no Hazelwood, etc., from an Australian perspective, Doggett seems to be next best. They've got Neeser coming in as well. Would they be tempted to go with a Neeser who's played Test cricket before, or because Doggett's the first man in the squad, he should be playing?
I think they'll go Doggett based on form. I think Neeser's also coming back from an injury, so he's maybe a little bit underdone, which is hard on Neeser because he's a little bit like Andy Bickle was, like always so close and has earned the right to be there as well. I think Doggett's form's extraordinary. I think the other thing we need to keep in mind, I think our first-class bowlers are very good. We just haven't seen enough of them because we've had Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Lyon that have been absolutely brilliant for such a long period of time. So it's hard to get a crack as a bowler. Scotty Boland comes in. His record's phenomenal in Australia. I think Doggett will do well. Again, any team with Hazelwood and Cummins in it is a better team. Don't get me wrong. But I think especially in Perth, I think Doggett will do a good job. You know what you're going to get with Scotty Boland. Stark is obviously primed, and I reckon he's looking as fit as I've seen him, so hopefully conditions swing there. Lino can bowl from any end at any time to any batter. He's on top of his game, and he's bowling as well as I've ever seen. And then you got the all-rounder in Green. If he can bowl the way he bowls, he's a massive X factor, I reckon, Cam Green. I like the way he plays, and I think he's a big player for Australia for a long period of time.
Yep.
Neeser didn't get the ball to swing in the Shield game the other day against Western Australia in Perth, which was quite interesting. The ball barely swung. I don't know if it's the time of year. Pup, if you were the captain of Australia now, and would you say to your batters we're going to target their spinner? Because if it's Bashir or Bethel, surely that's a weak point.
You know what? I don't think they'll play one. I think they'll use Joe Root. I don't think England will play one, but no brainer. I think as soon as spin comes on, if Australia's batting, you'll see them be ultra aggressive because it just means a quick's got to come back. And particularly that quick could be Ben Stokes. So the more overs he bowls in Test 1, you're looking forward to Test 4 and Test 5. That's the key as well. That's the other thing in a 5-test series. You're working blokes as hard as you can. So even in let's say in the first test, you might bat for a bit longer to keep the opposition out in the sun and bowling more overs because you're actually preparing for Test 2, Test 3, Test 4, Test 5 without even knowing it. 5-test matches is a lot of tough cricket. There's a lot of grind, and being in the field takes it out of you, particularly in Australia if it's hot. So, I think you'll see Australia straight away go as hard as they can against the spin if they play a spinner.
2 more before we let you go. Michael, first one, series prediction for us?
If there's no rain, 3-2 Australia.
3-2 Australia. Okay.
5 results.
And then... Yeah, all results. And then lastly, I was listening to an episode of your podcast just the other day, and you mentioned, Aaron, I think, asked you whether it came up in conversation around, you had not been back and sat in a day's Test cricket until recently, which was in the UK. Is that right? You'd never been back in, I don't know how many years it is, to watch it live.
10 years.
10 years.
I went to Lords. I was in London for some work. So I went to Lords and watched a day play India versus England, and it was unreal. I probably had too many champagnes, but I absolutely loved it. It was a great day. I think I'll go to one of the days in Sydney in that last Test match. But yeah, I'm always following the cricket. I got it on the TV. It's the best time of the year in Australia. That'll never change. But I don't know. I think I've enjoyed sort of sitting back and watching from afar and not being too involved. And again, I still talk to a number of the boys. I'm close with them, so if they ever need anything, they can call me. But yeah, I don't know. I just never, I'll always respect what the game has given me. I'm so grateful. But I had my time, and I get enough cricket with the podcast, a little bit of commentary. I think, but it's certainly not because I don't still love the game. I'm still, and always will be, connected to it. It's just, I think I don't know. I enjoyed watching from afar. So this summer, like I say, I might go to one day in Sydney, but, summer's also in Australia for me, time with my little girl, my daughter, because I travelled so much every summer for 15 years when I was playing for Australia. So her school holidays align with cricket season, really, and I'm committed to making sure I spend that time with her. She's not into cricket at all at the moment, so we're doing dancing and gymnastics in my house, let me tell you, even though cricket's not in the background.
Michael, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Beyond 23 Cricket Pod, we can catch that wherever you download your pods from, on YouTube as well. So thanks very much for joining us. It's greatly appreciated.
Thanks, boys. Anytime. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, mate.
Behind the Stumps here on Sport FM. We're in the final throws. Great to catch up with Michael Clarke. That's top shelf stuff there from... The one thing I wanted to ask him, where did Pup come from? I've never really got to the bottom of where Pup came from. I don't know if you know HD, his nickname, but we ran out of time to ask that.
I don't know, but I would imagine he was the young pup in the side because he started at such a young age.
Yeah, and glad that those degenerative back issues never caught him because, we would have missed out on a fair cricketer and a fair captain from an Australian perspective as well. So glad he was able to get through that in his teenage years and ultimately manage it throughout his career.
Yeah, I mean, what a fine player. And he got his runs in difficult circumstances. I mean, we heard him talk about the Morne Morkel thing. He played that down a little bit, but I tell you what, that was 45 minutes of terror. It really was. And he was magnificent in that. And also, you mentioned a little bit earlier, everyone's busy now that's in the cricketing world because of the Ashes. And for him to give us some time, that speaks volumes for him.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many former cricketers that have got a bit on this week with the Ashes here in Perth and things that are going on around the country. So, for him to spend half an hour with us is amazing. So we thank Michael Clarke for that immensely. HD, a couple of other things before we go. Firstly, we've just seen do you call it absorbing? I'm not sure. India and South Africa, that first Test match over there in the subcontinent, where it was all over in the best part of 3 days. There's two bits to this. Firstly, we'll come to the conditions in just a sec, but South Africa, surely there has to be a time where we now start to go. They're doing it wherever. They're the World Test Championship holders. They've knocked off Australia. They've now beaten Pakistan in a Test match in a series in Pakistan. They've now knocked over India in the first of two Test matches there in India. When is South African cricket, even though they're not playing a lot of Test cricket at the moment, they haven't got a home Test this summer, may I add, in South Africa. But when do they themselves believe in the fact that they should play more Test cricket? And secondly, when does the world go, well, hang on a second, South Africa, they mean business?
Well, number one, I think they do feel that they should be playing more Test cricket. I just think that their coffers need to be a little bit more full. And so that SA20 is something that really keeps them going. And it's a great T20 tournament. It now sits up there along with the Big Bash and trying to catch up to the IPL. That's a long way still to go, but it's a big T20 tournament for them. I'm just wondering where all those people are. I know one's in Perth at the moment, good friend of mine, Michael Vaughan, but they seem to have gone very quiet with their comments about South Africa not deserving of a World Test Championship final, never mind winning it. Look, the thing about the nature of the people, and I've lived in Australia now for 10 years, but they love it when they're not rated or not backed. It spurs them on as people. And that would have helped them with that World Test Championship, being big underdogs. Their coach, Shukri Conrad, we've spoken to him on this show before. He's very passionate. He's very emotional. He will still remind them about what people said about the World Test Championship. Now they've beaten Pakistan, as you mentioned, in Pakistan. They've beaten India in India. These were the things that the critics spoke about. They said, well, they've beaten no one. So how did that? Well, now they've beaten India in a surface tailor-made for India.
Yeah, well, Gorton Gambier. So there's a bit of criticism, obviously, on the pitch from both internally in India and externally outside of India, right? And Gorton Gambier said, well, that's exactly what we wanted. That's exactly what we wanted, the type of wicket that they expected there in Kolkata, right? But is it good for the game to see that type of wicket rolled out, HD? Or because it's India and because it's their home conditions, they can roll out whatever they want and you're just expected to play to it?
Well, there's a couple of things to that.
I shouldn't say that just because it's India. I'm talking about a home country and their home conditions can roll out what they like.
Yeah, but there's a couple of things to that. Number one, if India had won that test match, I don't think there would have been quite the backlash, because quite a few years ago, a very similar thing happened there, and Ravi Shastri came out and said, hang on, this is our home conditions. We can prepare what we want. When we go to Australia or to South Africa, they prepare green pitches for us, so we can do this. The problem is India ended up the wrong side of that result. So now there's a bit of uproar. Now, as far as pitches go, I don't mind the pitch turning, but it's not home ground advantage if the home team can't bat on the surface either. That's where I think they need to draw the line. Create the surfaces that will help your side. So, yes, of course we're going to leave a little bit of grass on when we come against India here, because they can't replicate those surfaces in India. But Tendulkar's got hundreds, Kohli's got hundreds, Pujara's got hundreds in Australia. When you can't bat on your own surface, when Australians can't bat in Australia, then we've got to look at the surface. So I credit Gambia for coming out and saying that, but I'm not quite sure they wanted it as extreme as what they got it.
Yep. Second test match. Can South Africa pull off a series victory? That would be incredible if they could do that in India. But yeah, it's sad that they're not playing. I take your point about the SA20, but sad that they're not playing any test cricket at home in South Africa this summer. But no doubt we'll see it return to their shores. I think Australia are slated to be there in September or October next year, I think. Or was it later? Yeah, 26 September, October, I think we're due to be there.
Yeah, but again, Jack, I mean, we just have to look at this Indian series. So what happens if India win the next test match? It's 1-1. Yeah. And we go back to saying it's pointless. I would far rather a one test match series than a two, to be honest. But it has to be 3. You can't have this anymore. People cry out for the result.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Everyone, that's what sport's about, isn't it? Everyone craves a winner. Everyone craves a winner in sport, and yeah, we don't get that in a 2 test match series if it's 1-1 at the end. But that's the way the world is going, HD, unfortunately. It's the way it is. Anyway,
well, enjoy your 5 test matches there in
that's
in
right. Yeah. We play 5 against England and India. That's what we do. Yeah. HD, good to catch up with you. Nepal T20 is where you are for the next month or so. Bit nippy. I see you've got quite a heavy sweater on there, HD.
Yeah, well, I'm only normally getting up about now, but I put the sweater on because underneath is my PJs.
That's how early it is. So we've recorded this at 9 a.m. Perth time, which is 6:45 in the morning in Nepal. 2 hours and 15 time difference, which is just a little weird for me. Just make it a flat 2 or a 2.5, whatever, but 2 hours 15, okay, each to their own. But you enjoy that over there. It should be a fantastic tournament over the next month, and we'll catch up with you again next week on Behind the Stumps.
We will. I'm going to open my curtains now and see if I can see Everest in the distance. So what about
Everest.
that for a view?
Are you going to go and climb it? In your
That I'm not going to do.
Very good. Now, next week, I think next week we're due for Monty Panazar. He's going to join us next week on Behind the Stumps. So he's had a bit to say recently, Monty. So we'll catch up with him. He's part of doing some sports breakfast stuff with Jacob and Wayne. So we'll also catch up with Monty Panazar on this format next week here on Behind the Stumps. But Behind the Stumps is thanks to our friends at Bailey's Grovesorb. Bailey's fertiliser, of course, ensuring WA Sports Turf absorbs every drop this summer, and Cedar College WA. Happy, healthy, high-performing students. That's Cedar College WA. Great sponsors of ours here at Behind the Stumps and also on Sport FM. Thank you, HD. See you next week. There he goes.
See you then, Jack.
HD Ackerman, former South African Test cricketer. Look forward to your company again next week here on Behind the Stumps.